Just want to give you guys an update and see and tell you what had happened during the last week or so. So we started quarantine our compound here since March 28th or so, and then we're supposed to like come out after like 2-3 days, and I don't know, and so it's kind of like this policy was like inconsistent throughout this whole thing here. And the government has been criticized for this like inconsistent, indecisive measures. So I think some of the district officials have been fired and replaced. So we're talking about bearing with the responsibility of if you can't get your job done, or if you mismanage something here, you're being held accountable for your mistakes. So people are getting, you're losing your job basically. Whereas if you are doing big mistakes like leading to like a devastating war in Iraq and stuff in the United States as a president, you still get to do your job and stuff. It's just it's a mistake from the intelligence they claim. So it's not a big deal when there's over 1 million Iraqis died from this, supposedly WMD and all this stuff. And on top, like, who's responsible for 1 million deaths from COVID actually? What has the United States done during this time? When they keep criticizing, blaming everything, China for anything, any actions, any measures they do here in China for a population of 1.4 billion people, and there were only, I don't know, about several thousand people. I mean, already too many people that died from COVID, maybe 6,000 of a population of 1.4 billion, whereas in the United States, about 360 million people population, and 1 million people have died from COVID. And so it seems like nobody was held responsible for these actions, like this mismanagement and stuff. So, okay, that's just a slight comparison of what happened. Yeah, and so we are basically, there's just constantly new policies coming out, like, they've been testing pretty much every day, and we get testing kits. And then every other days or 2-3 days we get we'll have to go outside and get tested, and we get testing kits, we get food delivered and stuff. So in this district, it's pretty good. I think the way they organize it, but I heard there's some dysfunctional or mismanaged areas where people didn't get their food delivered on time, and some people going out to protest, and yeah, all kinds of problems. I mean, we're looking at a city of 25 million people, and it would be like a utopia if there's nobody complaining, everything is perfect. So I'm sure, if I had a choice, I wouldn't want this lockdown. I'd rather like going out on a nice day like this. But there's certain duties in the societies you have to do, and as a responsible citizen, do whatever it takes, as a collective to solve this problem. And of course, of 25 million people, there's always going to be some douchebags, like some idiots, like complaining about their food not being delivered on time, or they can't get their fucking blueberries or whatever they used to. We're talking about we're in times of like a pandemic, and then you complaining about your fucking blueberries and whatever luxury you normally get used to. And there's some foreigners that are like this, like complaining about, I can't live freely. Why don't you go back to the US or back to Europe, if it doesn't suit you, whatever policy they're doing here. If it's any better, if you have like over, I'm sure one of your family members or friends that were impacted by COVID, and then there were, you know, less lucky people, like their relatives, that like friends that died from COVID and stuff because of mismanagement of your own government. Okay, and we're at day now it's April 10th, so we're officially like around 12 days into this lockdown. And initially, yeah, we had some food shortages initially, but then now I think and several, I think, managers and district officials have been replaced, and then I think now they're trying to regulate this better, and now I think they get to a point where deliveries and stuff are okay again. There's a lot of supply chain basically works again. Before, yeah, they're trying to figure out, I mean, a big city, to mobilize like the staff and stuff. If you quarantine like 25 million people, and I'm sure there's not enough staff, and there's all sorts of problems but when you see that Shanghai, or especially China, can deal with this with a 25 million people city, you know, can shut down a city for a week or 2 or 3 weeks just like this, it means a lot. You know how much they lose in this time, like billions, you know, in terms of GDP. Lots of money we're talking about that they're losing. But it shows you, like, if Shanghai or China in general can shut down a city like this to sacrifice, you know, for the better well-being of the people, sacrifice the economy for this, that means a lot. That means competence, like very, very strong economy we're looking at, you know, very independent economy, you know, not depending on foreign countries, you know, whereas if you look at other countries that are very dependent on supplies from China, or in general, you know, they cannot shut down a city like this for several, not even for 1 day. You know, it will be. Can you imagine a city like New York, Tokyo shut down for a week or stuff? It will be devastating to their economy, or just like they would not be able to cope with this at all. You know, but here this is like, you know, we'll just decide to shut down the economy for a week, 2, maybe 3, and yeah, we'll deal with this. And you know, for the sake of, you know, the well-being of people, and of course, there's going to be some people who suffer from this and maybe die, and you know, it's not perfect. I mean, I was wondering, like, pondering like the question, like, how many people would die if the city would run normal, like through car accidents or what have you, natural death, you know, versus like a lockdown. So this is an interesting question, actually, if there's actually more people dying from a natural occurrence of a society when it runs normal versus a lockdown, you know. So yeah, I mean, the Western media always complains like about every little thing, you know, when people are protesting. It's crazy. Western media is like so worried about China and everything. I mean, they can't even feed their own citizens and stuff, you know. It's crazy, you know, the amount of hypocrisy, you know, in the US. It's astounding. So yeah, we have one of these COVID workers just came out from the building here. He just delivered something to the house. I think we just got rice bags, each household, and we got, yeah, I think it's sort of like random whenever they provide food and stuff. So we're getting better actually with the supply chain. Initially it was like slow and stuff, but now we can pretty much order everything we want again after what 10 days. Yeah, it takes some time to just, you know, tweak that, you know. So now we're back to normal. Even, I would say, when we had supposedly food shortages here, like in China, in Shanghai, that is still better than most countries, you know, in terms of like starvation. I think starvation here in China means they're not getting their fucking food delivered within a day, okay? And people fucking complain because they're used to food delivery within like what, 20-30 minutes, and now it's like a day or two, and people freak out, you know. So you have to put things in perspective, you know. When they're talking about food shortage, that means like it's a delay of 1 day, you know, and that's better in most, you know, the e-commerce like delivering system here is like probably 10 years ahead of Europe and United States here. It's pretty sophisticated, this whole system here, you know. That's why it's so convenient, like going out, buying stuff, like paying through the phone stuff. This whole system is just, they skipped the entire like credit card system and cash system here. So I mean, yeah, it's, people would be surprised coming here, is like when they being told in the United States that all this like crazy stories about organ harvesting and genocide and all this crazy stories, when they come here, it's like, what the fuck? I mean, this is like 20 years ahead of Europe. This is the freaking future, you know. So it's just crazy, like the amount of money the US spends on these anti-China campaigns. It's mind-boggling that they're so crazy about containing China. They're willing to do everything they can to stop China, and it actually backfires over all these years that they spend so much time doing this.